That story is never going to be washed away. It will forever be with us.
A poignant moment for Kiana Jones as she looks at her work at Black Lives Matter Plaza.
It's bittersweet, right?
She painted the 2-block stretch on 16th Street Northwest in June 2020. The space was created after the death of George Floyd as a place for both protests and healing.
That's what art is about. It's about creating. It's about having hard conversations, and you can create again. So it's never gone forever.
In a statement on Tuesday, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said the district will paint over the mural that stands 1 block from the White House. Today, she explained why.
We have bigger fish to fry than fights over what has been very important to us and to their history, and especially in our ability to keep our city safe during that time. That mural played a very important part.
Kiana, who is a Southeast D.C. native, understands the mayor's decision.
People have been losing jobs. There have been budget cuts. There's been a lot that's been going on. And to have to fight for this and potentially lose a lot of funding that we definitely need right now, I understand that we have to make a choice, and sometimes art may not be it.
So at this moment, Kiana is choosing to reflect on the impact that her work made.
It speaks for itself. People travel the world to see this.
Including civil rights leader and former Georgia Congressman John Lewis, who made his last public appearance at Black Lives Matter Plaza in June 2020 before he died 1 month later.
It's a moment in history that can't be erased. I'm so honored and grateful to be a part.
She says while her work may be washed away physically, it will always be a part of her spirit that she leaves in her hometown.
Yeah, it can't be washed out. Exactly. Can't wash me out, baby.
Boy. So we got to talk about a story that warms my heart, okay? It is a story that makes me feel good, okay? This is a feel-good story because I believe that this story really marks the end of an era, okay? One of the worst eras in this country's history, in my opinion, in regards to just pure divisiveness, which is the BLM era, okay? The era of Black Lives Matter, which peaked during George Floyd, okay? These people caused violence, destruction, chaos across the country, billions of dollars in damage, probably the worst acts of political violence that we've seen in this country's history, okay, outside of the Civil War, if you count that as political violence, okay? But yeah, outside of that, the BLM riots were historically bad, okay? And that is not an exaggeration. It's not the same way that Democrats exaggerate about January 6th. January 6th was worse than 9/11. Really? Really? I'm just saying. BLM, I'm not exaggerating about how bad it was, okay? It was probably one of the lowest points in this country's history, okay? So having this plaza be erased, along with the Democrat mayor basically moving to do so, mainly due to the fact that the GOP told her, hey, we're going to withhold millions of dollars if you don't do it. Go ahead and erase it. Again, I think that this is symbolic of the conservative anti-woke movement winning the culture war at this point, okay? It's not over, right? It's never over, but we're definitely winning, okay, for sure. Because I couldn't imagine this being done even 2 or 3 years ago, right? I couldn't imagine that Democrats would do this, okay, without boohoo, whining, and crying. But to be honest, there's not that much boohoo, whine, and cry, right? There's not massive protests, massive pushback, anything like that. There's just a few black liberals that are coping over this. Like, for example, Mr. Roland Martin, who decided to
jump in his ass. You gotta push back immediately. Jump in his ass.
Jump in Mayor Bowser's butt, right, over her folding to the GOP and their demands. Take a look.
We will invite students and artists to create new murals across all 8 wards. The mural inspired millions and helped our city through a very painful period, reflecting on how the Black Lives Matter mural became a symbol during the protests against police brutality in 2020. But now we can't afford to be distracted by meaningless congressional interference. The devastating impacts of the federal job cuts must be our #1 concern. Our focus is on economic growth, public safety, and supporting our residents affected by these cuts. That was the statement that she released. I just got to go ahead and say it. That's a bullshit statement, Mayor. It's a bullshit statement. What you should be saying, Mayor Bowser, is Republicans, how dare you always talk about big government? How dare you always talk about local control? And now you want to tell the residents of D.C., who are not a state, who are taxpayers, who give their lives to this country, you're now telling us how we must conduct ourselves in this country. This is where the mayor should be rallying D.C. residents to let this Republican and Republican leadership know. In fact, what her statement should be saying is that I call House Speaker Mike Johnson to say, don't allow this to move forward. Don't bring it up as a bill. This is the capitulation I'm talking about. Liberty Plaza? That's what they want? What this is, we gonna make y'all do whatever it is we want y'all to do. Bend over. Do what we want. We can run it. That's all this is. They not fooling us. We know what they're trying to do. They've always used Washington, D.C. for their own purposes. They've always done that.
I find this to be hilarious, right? And the reason why I find this to be hilarious is that once again, we have projection from the left. Okay, Roland Martin claims that Republicans are trying to take control of D.C. and that they're using D.C. for their political agenda. And I'm saying like, well, isn't D.C. 90% liberal, 90% Democrat? So how is it that the Democrat Party is not already using D.C. as a political tool, okay, for their political agenda? Because again, 90% of DC, they're liberal, right? So the Democrats already have control of DC, right? So DC is not independent right now, right? They're not, even though they're independent from the government, but they're not independent from the federal government because again, they're all Democrats. The Democrats control DC. So if you want DC to be independent, which is what President Trump is doing right now, then yeah, you have to have the federal government take back control of DC and to then downsize DC, which is exactly what needs to happen. Okay, Washington, D.C. was never intended to be as big as it is right now. Again, look at what Democrats have turned it into, okay? It is a liberal city. So ultimately, one of the reasons why the mass firings are occurring is because you have to downsize the government. The Republicans need to take back control of D.C. and then basically force people out of D.C., right? These federal agencies need to be moved to different parts of the country, okay, where they can be shielded from the overt liberal influence, political influence that is present within DC, right? I mean, a lot of people don't think about the fact that you have the federal government, a town in which the federal government operates in, is 90% liberal. What does that mean in regards to most federal employees? They're liberal and you're working for the government. We know that these entities are operating without real oversight from the president. And again, if they're 90% liberal, what do you think they're going to do, right? Do you think that they're going to fall behind the president's agenda if the president is a Republican, right? If the president is not a Democrat, if the president doesn't align with their ideology? So again, that's why a lot of this stuff has to be done, right? So what you're talking about, what we're seeing happening with the Trump administration is doing what Republicans should have did a long time ago, right? It's crazy that President Trump is the only Republican president with enough cojones to actually do what should have been done a long time ago to the federal government, okay? So it really shows you how a lot of these Republicans, they would just talk, right? They didn't really care about how big the government was getting, right? They low-key were agreeing with the Democrats because they didn't really do anything to push back against the federal government getting so bloated, right? And the liberal control of Washington, D.C., which is an existential threat to the Republican Party. Let's be real. But again, a lot of these Republicans are low-key liberal. So it's, like whatever to them. They can tolerate it, right? So again, Black Lives Matter Plaza going away. Okay, there's a whole lot of cope.
Tonight, the days are numbered for D.C.'s Black Lives Matter Plaza. Supporters say it inspired and raised awareness about racial injustice and inequality. But after pressure from Republicans in Congress, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says it will be changed. Fox 5's Shamari Stone is in Northwest tonight with the details.
Tonight, there are dozens of protesters here at Black Lives Matter Plaza. Many of them walked up to me and said that they are upset about D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's announcement. You see them right over here, and Black Lives Matter Plaza has become a landmark here in the district. As you can see, we are just right by the White House, and it has been here since the summer of 2020 after protest over racial injustice and police brutality. Tonight, Mayor Bowser saying it will be replaced as part of D.C.'s America 250 mural project involving students and artists from across all 8 wards in the district. Black Lives Matter Plaza was created after protests and unrest broke out nationwide following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, becoming a place for people protesting against racism, police brutality, and the justice system. Now, there have recently been efforts in Congress to force the mayor to make the change or lose federal funding. No word on when the change will take place. In a statement, Mayor Bowser saying in part, quote, "The mural inspired millions of people and helped our city through a very painful period, but now we can't afford to be distracted by meaningless congressional interference," end quote.
This is tragic. You know, this really meant a lot to us as a community when we were really dealing with and struggling with the murder of George Floyd. And to see it just be erased really strikes at the heart of our community.
I think, yo, this is really beyond me, bro. One thing I will never understand are these black people who come out here and talk about how they relate to George Floyd. Like, how do you relate to George Floyd? There's nothing about George Floyd that I can relate to because I'm not a criminal, right? If I was a criminal, maybe, but I'm not a criminal, right? So there's nothing I can relate to. I've never experienced police brutality, and I've had plenty of interactions with the police, okay? And I am black, right? I am black. So as a black man, they claim that, hey, you know, your life is in danger because of police. Police out here hunt you down. Again, I've never experienced, police brutality or what I would call police brutality. Okay. Have I experienced asshole cops? Yep. Have I experienced cops that I felt like unfairly ticketed me or pulled me over? Yep. But hey, I survived, right? I survived. I wasn't beat up. Okay. I'm just saying. So I can't relate to the whole George Floyd thing. And again, I really do believe that the George Floyd situation was a terrible thing for this country because it really ushered in an era of chaos and destruction that a lot of these people justified, okay? And they supported over a overblown issue, right, of police brutality, which as a black man, I am telling you, is overblown in my opinion. It's not that big of an issue in this country, at least not something that people should be rioting in the streets over, but they did, okay? And that led to legislation and laws passed in these liberal cities that aim to defund the police, to demoralize the police. Woke prosecutors got elected across the country, DAs backed by George Soros, and these liberal cities became lawless as a result, okay? And that lawlessness led to black people losing their lives, okay? That's what it led to. And that's the crazy thing about the whole Black Lives Matter thing. The Black Lives Matter thing basically led to more black people dying. And they claimed that their whole movement was supposed to be about, oh, we're supposed to be saving black lives. No, they were contributing to black people losing their lives at the hands of other black people that were allowed to do whatever they want to do due to these laws in these liberal cities that just allowed destruction and chaos with no real consequences. Because locking up black people, again, is racist, right? A police officer roughing up a young black male that is extremely dangerous. Oh, that's racist too, right? Can't do that. Okay. Police can't do their jobs. So people got to understand mural being erased, being replaced, I think is something that is symbolic of the right side, okay, of this movement, okay, being on the right side of history and, you know, restoring law and order in this country, right? That's what it's about.
I think it's very shameful because the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the attack on protests such as Black Lives Matter, I think it's an attempt to erase us and our struggle and our history, and it's wrong. And I'm just sorry that the mayor felt that she had to give in to that extortion.
And Mayor Bowser says that federal job cuts must be the #1 concern right now. You can read her full statement on fox5dc.com.
DC's department.
Yeah, I think Republicans should just take back control of DC and push all these agencies out of DC into different parts of the country, right? Let some of these red states get these government jobs, right? These federal jobs. Give them to the red states, right? We deserve them. So I'm just saying that's what the federal government should do. And, hey, that's what's happening right now. And again, the replacement of the BLM Plaza, I think is symbolic of us winning the culture war in this country. And we got to understand that it's not over, okay? And that we must continue to push back against the left and to make sure that we don't go back to the time in this country that was the last 4 years of chaos and destruction and just outright lunacy that was happening across the country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share. A Black conservative perspective. Peace.